Hi friends, welcome back to 5 Minute Modern. My name is Cindy, and today we're discussing Ed Clark. You may not have heard of him, but he was one of the most innovative abstract painters in American history. Although underappreciated, Clark is remembered as one of the few black artists to paint abstract work in the heyday of abstraction in mid-century America. But he was also a deeply inventive painter whose work pushed forward new techniques and ideas in abstract painting. Born in 1926 in Louisiana, Clark had an interest in art from an early age and an unshakable confidence in his own potential. He served in the Army in Guam from 1944 to 46, and upon completing his service, he used his GI Bill benefits to pursue his art education at the Art Institute of Chicago. Following his graduation, Clark spent several years in Paris, where he befriended people like Joan Mitchell, Al Held, James Baldwin, and another artist we've discussed on this channel, Buford Delaney. In 1956, Clark returned to New York, where his career really began to take off. The following year, he co-founded Bratta Gallery with fellow artists George Sugarman and Al Held. Bratta was a groundbreaking artist-owned cooperative that offered space to women and artists of color at a time when the gallery establishment was primarily focused on white male artists. Future art world megastar Yayoi Kusama had her first show at Bratta Gallery in 1959. However great a contribution Bratta Gallery was, Clark's greatest innovations would come in his own work. Beginning in the 1950s, Clark used large push brooms designed to sweep floors to push paint across his canvases. Clark would lay the canvas flat on the floor, pour acrylic paint on it, and then use a push broom to spread the paint across the canvas with long and singular gestures. The process resulted in deep and evocative colors, whether the painting's tones were dark or light. Clark often painted with brighter shades like pink and blue, but I never find that the brighter tones make the colors feel any less rich. He used the push broom for most of his career, even as he continued experimenting with other techniques. Inspired by the sand painting practices of the native Pueblo tribe, Clark used his broom to spread dry pigment on paper to create compositions with more muted colors. He was also the first abstract artist to use a shaped canvas rather than the standard square or rectangular format. He made many oval canvases and some canvases which were asymmetrically formed, as though pushing abstraction not just through his subject matter, but into his very materials. Clark's alterations of canvas shapes would be influential to Frank Stella as he began his experiments with atypically formed canvases. Although Clark was a friend to many abstract expressionists like Joan Mitchell and Sam Francis, and is sometimes counted as an abstract expressionist himself, I see Clark's work as being quite distinct. Art critic John Yao noted that in place of the agitated brushstrokes that characterized the work of many of Clark's contemporaries in abstraction, Clark's work is straightforward, even calm. Yao likens Clark's paintings to the calm before the storm, gentle waves that indicate a maelstrom beneath the surface. In their obituary for Clark, Roberta Smith and Neil Vigdor hint that the forcefulness and autonomy in Clark's work may point to unspoken anger at the racism of the time, citing his 1964 painting, Blacklash. Painted after an off-duty police officer murdered a 15-year-old black boy named James Powell in Harlem, Blacklash would be Clark's most overt statement on race. While some black artists critiqued Clark for working in abstraction rather than a more direct and socially engaged figurative style, many in the art world establishment ignored Clark, focusing on the white artists who dominated the abstract expressionist scene. For his part, Clark denied any interest in what he termed black art, instead preferring to think of himself solely as a painter. As writer Jessica Bell Brown notes, many black artists chose abstract styles as a deliberate strategy to evade the limits imposed by discourses on race. Brown's argument certainly aligns with my perception of Clark as an artist who refused to be held back by limits, literally changing the shape of the canvas when it was inadequate to his vision. I find Clark to be somewhat unclassifiable. Though clearly he was a black man and an abstract painter, his unique vision and inventive working methods push beyond broadly defined categories and create a singular sense of liveliness in his work. Though he passed in 2019, when I look at one of Clark's paintings, I see a work of tremendous vivaciousness, with sweeping brushstrokes that fill my lungs with air like a deep breath. Thanks so much for watching this one. Please let me know in the comments down below what you think of Clark's work, and please remember to like and subscribe. As always, I hope you learned something new, and I hope you enjoyed the video. I'll see you in the next one. Bye.